Helen, a 42-year-old woman, moved through her daily routine like a ghost, haunted by dreams she couldn't let go. The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, its warmth doing little to chase away the cold ache in her chest. The kitchen was immaculate, but to Helen, it felt incomplete. Her gaze lingered on the empty corner where a high chair might have sat, a constant reminder of the life she had longed to build but could never quite grasp. For 12 years, she and her husband, Evan, had shared a life filled with love and quiet companionship. Yet, the absence of a child had become an unspoken void between them, growing wider with each passing year. Helen's longing for motherhood was not a fleeting desire, it was as intrinsic as the blood in her veins. But the reality remained unyielding. Evan's condition rendered them unable to conceive naturally. Evan was always loving and supportive, and Helen cherished him for it. Still, she could see the sadness in his eyes whenever the subject of children arose. "We'll find a way. There are options, IVF, surrogacy," he'd say, his voice steady but strained. Helen would nod, grateful for his optimism, but inside, her heart felt like it was being torn in two. The idea of IVF, a clinical, detached process, felt alien to her. Could she truly bond with a child conceived in a lab? The thought left her uneasy, as if it would sever the connection she craved. This fear, though irrational, was real. In the quiet moments of her day, Helen often found herself lost in thought, envisioning the soft weight of a baby in her arms, the sound of their laughter filling the house with life. Each vivid dream was both a comfort and a torment. As the years passed, she wondered, what if it's already too late? Society rubbed salt into her wounds. Friends and family, in their well-meaning but thoughtless ways, would ask, "When are you two going to have kids?" or, "Don't wait too long, Helen." These remarks felt like daggers. Helen smiled politely, but inside, she felt raw and vulnerable. Even social media became a minefield, filled with photos of friends cradling newborns, each one a reminder of what she lacked. Helen often scrolled through her feed with a mix of envy and despair, her heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled dreams. The laughter of children echoed in her mind, a haunting melody that reminded her of what she yearned for. She hated the bitterness that crept into her heart, whispering cruel things. Was she selfish for feeling this way? Was she broken? Evan, ever the optimist, tried to reassure her, but Helen sensed his struggle too. He avoided lingering in the baby aisle at the grocery store and changed the channel whenever parenting commercials aired. He carried his own guilt for being the reason they couldn't conceive naturally. Their evenings together had changed, once filled with dreams, they now fell into silence, Helen lost in her thoughts and Evan pretending to be engrossed in the television. She wanted to reach out, to tell him how much she loved him despite everything, but the words never came. Voicing her feelings felt like it would deepen his guilt, so she stayed silent, even as the distance between them widened. The laughter they once shared felt like a distant memory, replaced by an uncomfortable quiet that settled between them. The idea of IVF lingered in the background, like an unanswered question. Evan gently encouraged her to consider it, but she couldn't bring herself to say yes. It wasn't just the clinical nature of the process that bothered her, it was the fear that the child wouldn't feel like hers. The costs, emotional toll, and uncertainty loomed over her like a storm cloud. Every time she thought about IVF, her mind raced with questions. What if it didn't work? What if they faced rejection? The thought of trying and failing felt unbearable. She imagined herself in a sterile clinic, surrounded by strangers, undergoing procedures that felt so impersonal. The warmth of motherhood seemed to slip further away. Evan's patience only made her feel more isolated. He would sit beside her, his hand resting gently on her back, but she felt a chasm between them. She needed a solution that felt right, not just for her, but for them as a couple. Yet every path seemed fraught with complications. At night, Helen lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with questions. How far was she willing to go to become a mother? What sacrifices would she make? And what would it mean for her marriage if she couldn't reconcile her dreams with reality? The knot in her chest tightened with every passing day, a constant reminder of her internal struggle. Something had to give. Helen found herself at a crossroads. The life she built with Evan was stable and loving but incomplete. Her dreams of motherhood felt tantalizingly close yet impossibly far away. She knew she couldn't keep living in limbo. A decision loomed ahead, and as she waited for clarity, the ache in her heart grew heavier. In those quiet moments before sleep, Helen imagined what it would be like to hold her child, to feel their tiny fingers wrap around hers, to hear their first laugh. The vision was intoxicating, yet it felt like a cruel joke. She could almost taste the joy of motherhood, but it remained just out of reach. As she finally closed her eyes, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on her, but deep within, a flicker of hope began to ignite. She realized that whatever path she chose, it would require not just courage, but also a willingness to embrace the unknown. And in that realization, she found a small measure of peace.